In this video, I'm going to be sharing my first impressions of some new watercolours. So this is the White Nights Artist Watercolor set. This is a set of 24 full pans and it is an artist's grade watercolour. After doing quite a lot of research on YouTube and on different watercolour blogs, I decided to try out these paints as they seem to give the best quality for the most reasonable price. So compared to some other watercolours, these work out really relatively cheap. The most up-to-date price I can find for these paints is hovering around £35 to £40 on Amazon. That's equivalent to around $50 US. And 24 colours might not seem like a lot, but remember these are full pans of paint. The pans are really generous, and on first impressions I know these are going to last me a very long time. So first off, let's talk a little about the plastic case that this particular set arrived in. I do know that White Nights also sell their paints in metal tins, and to be honest, I would recommend going for the metal tin if you're going to pick up a set, because straight off the bat a few things bothered me. The plastic is very cheap. Probably the most irritating thing of all is that the pans like to slide around, they don't really lock into place. This can be easy fixed with a bit of double-sided tape, so it's not really a deal breaker, but it is a little inconvenient. That being said, if you're somebody that swaps around their palette quite a lot and likes to be able to take their paints out to travel and things, that might suit you quite well if you want an easy removal. Personally, I'm going to transfer these into a metal tin. I just think that will be more practical for my purposes, but I'm not in a massive hurry to do so. And in all fairness, I would rather the money that I'm spending go into the quality of the paint than the quality of the container. At the end of the day, that is what I care about. Another thing I dislike about these plastic palettes is that they stain and just end up looking horrendous almost straight away. I like to use a ceramic palette and would highly recommend investing in one if you paint in watercolour regularly. They are fabulous. There's plenty of space for extra pans so you can add to your palette and swap things out as you please. So let's talk about the paint. If it's important to you that your paints are non-toxic, then I wouldn't recommend this set, as it has a few cadmium colours and also a cobalt. It's just something that is good to be aware of as well if you do plan on using them. Another thing that is worth mentioning is that there are a couple of fugitive colours in this set. These are golden and violet. A fugitive colour is a colour that fades over time, and if you want your art to keep looking good for years to come, you need to be aware of these colours and avoid using them in your work. You would actually be better mixing these colours or as close to with your other paints that are not fugitive if you want to keep your work looking good. Personally, I don't mind that there's a couple of fugitive colours in this set. I will probably experiment with them in my sketchbook a little and really restrict it to that, because if these colours are mixed in with other colours, they will deteriorate over time, and I'm quite wary of the violet in particular. The pigment for that is PV3 and it is notorious for fading, which is a shame because it is a beautiful colour, but one that can be easily replicated with other colours in the set. I was really impressed by the size of these pans, and I really liked the back of the box that had all of the information about every single paint in the set, how opaque it is, how transparent it is, if it granulates, and all the pigment information. So that made it really easy to look up some of the specific pigments and how best to use them. If you would like a look at my full swatch sheet, I will upload the scans to my Instagram, which is linked in the description below. So if you'd like to see that, check it out. It has a lot more colours in it than are in this set, as I really like these paints and decided to fill out my palette. So if you'd like a sneak preview of some of the colours that I will be experimenting with in upcoming videos, drop me a follow and check that out over there. Okay, so let's get on with the painting. When I sat down with this set to finally paint something, I had no idea what I wanted to paint. I toyed with the idea of painting something Resident Evil related, but I wasn't really feeling it. And, you know, in a horror game, you have all the really dark, desaturated colours, and I just wasn't feeling it. The rainbow of colours on those beautiful swatches had me really inspired to just play with the paint. And sometimes I think this is the best way to approach a painting, with no expectations, no ambitions, and just give yourself an opportunity to paint freely and enjoy the process of applying the paint to the paper, watching how it moves, and just letting it do its thing. I was definitely in this kind of free and expressive mood, so I decided to just embrace that, and I spent a long time painting a really interesting background. I wanted to give a sense of scale, and I really wanted to play with the values, making some areas very dark and very light. It actually started to remind me of kind of underwater scene. When I finally got to the point where I had to kind of decide where I was going with this, I reverted back to my original Resident Evil idea. I thought it would be really fun and really stupid to paint Lady Dimitrescu's hat and her big kind of Freddy Krueger claw hand. I could kind of see at the top the really light shape looking a little like, you know, maybe fabric. So I tried my best to incorporate a figure into this. Figures are not something I paint often, especially going directly in without any sketch or any plan, or, you know, starting a figure painting with a hat is maybe not the best idea. I also painted this upside down because it was never really part of my plan and I didn't want to spoil my time lapse. So yeah, I really was just relaxing and not worrying about if I made a mess of this. I love getting a painting day where you just don't care, perfection goes out the window and you just have fun with art. It is like therapy, honestly. So I totally got into it this day, had a lot of fun with it. In the end, I don't love how this painting turns out. I really love the background. I almost regret adding the figure at the end, but to be honest with you, that's part of making art, and for me, I have no ability to, you know, visualize things in my head, so I just like to experiment, play around, have fun, and just keep making stuff. But I'd like to explore more abstract backgrounds like this. I had a lot of fun with it, and who knows, maybe one day I will paint that underwater scene. So to round this off, I thought it'd be fun to share my final thoughts on these paints. I was so impressed with the amount of pigment in most of the paints. There were a couple of colours that I thought were a little weak. The cobalt blue in particular I thought was very weak, and some of the earth tones were not as powerful as I would have liked. On the other hand, the more saturated, kind of vibrant colours come up really well. They are absolutely beautiful. It actually took me a long time to get used to the amount of water that they actually required to thin out enough to be, you know, transparent. The paint is just loaded with pigment, which is exactly what I wanted. I love bright colours, and I think the paints flow quite well on the page. I found them to be easy enough to control and really can't wait to break them out again for another video. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. I would love to hear your feedback on how I can improve these videos and make them better for you guys. See you next week. Bye!